What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Red Gold Standard podcast. My name is Zach Hernandez, and as always, I am joined by my co-host Matt Llewellyn and our guy Mike Andrews of Nothing But Niners. We got a great show planned for you guys tonight. I know it's a little later, so I appreciate all you guys tuning in and on the short notice as well. We're going to be previewing the 49ers Week 5 matchup against the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football tomorrow night. But before we do, if you're tuning in on Twitter, head over to youtube.com/49ers Hive. Click like and subscribe while you're there. Tune in from there. We're not ignoring your comments on Twitter. We just can't see them. Or X, I should say. youtube.com/49ers Hive. It is scrolling across the bottom of your screen. Now that I got that out of the way, Matt, how you doing tonight?
Cowboys week, it's I feel pretty good about the game, but that can change at the drop of a hat. That this rivalry is tale as old as time, going back to the catch with Joe Montana and Dwight Clark to Steve Young and Troy Aikman, those battles that they had in those NFC championship games, to the last couple of years in the playoffs. This is a team that the 49ers and their fans and the Cowboys and their fans, they circle this on their calendars. I think it has a little extra juice this year because of the trade that was made earlier. Although I think some of the reports coming out are much ado about nothing, but I'm excited, man. I'm ready, and it's going to be a tough day. Watching football all day tomorrow, chomping at the bit to get to this game. But this is a game, if any, so far this season, that belongs in prime time. This is a prime time matchup if I've ever seen one.
Yeah, man, this is going to be as good of a regular season game as I can remember. Mike, how you doing tonight?
No, I agree with a lot of what Matt said. I'm ready to get down to the get down. These teams are, if the Cowboys win this game, we walk out of here with the same record. The Cowboys and the Niners have a lot of statistics that are very, very close on face value. And this is a week end of football that I'm really, really excited about. Started with the college games tonight. It's going to head on over to early morning tomorrow. I know you guys get it a lot earlier than, technically earlier than what we do over here. But even that's a good game, right? You have the Jaguars with back-to-back games over in London, and you have the Bills visiting now. So who's got the favorite? Who's got the upper hand, right? The Jaguars got the chance to stay there for the entire week, and that's going to be a good game. And all the way down to the Sunday night docket where the 49ers meet up with the Dallas Cowboys, a game that promises to have playoff implications. I can't wait to break it all down. I'm really excited.
Yeah, man, this is a great game to preview. There's just so much going on. And I think, Matt, you mentioned it, if the Cowboys end up beating the 49ers tomorrow night, they leave with the same record. But for some reason, I feel like it wouldn't be as detrimental to the 49ers to lose this game as it would be to the Cowboys to lose this game. Like, I feel like the Cowboys are almost expected to lose. And if the 49ers happen to lose this game, it's almost just like, well, they slipped on one. Everybody knows they're going to be there come January. Everybody knows they're going to be a force to be reckoned with come, late December, early January. But the Cowboys, it's almost like we've seen this iteration of this team. They're very good from September through late November, maybe even December. And then once January comes around, the wheels fall off. And my first question for you gentlemen, Matt, I'll start with you. Is this type of team, as good as they appear to be on paper, looking back on the last two playoff matchups, it seems like the Cowboys felt like they needed to do like guerrilla warfare type tactics, right? Fake punts, trick plays to get one over on the 49ers to where they couldn't just straight up beat the 49ers 11-on-11. Do you think that's the type of like play we're going to see from them tomorrow where they need to go above and beyond the normal X's and O's to sneak out with a win?
I mean, that's just something that, they're going to have to do if they get down in the game. My thing is we've seen this iteration of games with these two teams a few times now, and the only real change is to the 49ers essentially. There was that playoff win in 2021 where the 49ers were able to pull out a 23-17 win when Dak, for whatever reason, decided a QB draw with 8 seconds left was the move. No timeouts, right? They couldn't spike the ball in time. And that was a Jimmy Garoppolo-led 49ers team. That wasn't, they were able to get out of there with a win. Brock Purdy comes on the scene last year. They win with Brock Purdy. Now we're getting Brock Purdy further into his career. Last week he looked confident as all get out. He looks like the dude, right? We were still trying to figure that out in the playoffs last year. It was his second playoff game. It was a 19-12 kind of a defensive grind, but the 49ers are essentially running back the same offense, as is Dallas. And when you put those two up against each other, I just don't see where Dallas has gotten good enough to try to, go toe to toe. Now you could argue that the 49ers defense hasn't been exactly what it was, but it's a top 5 unit still. Right. And then the one big piece missing for Dallas is Trayvon Diggs out for the season. That's a big blow no matter what you think, about Trayvon Diggs and what he gives up receiving. I think there could be some trickeration. I think that's just something that McCarthy likes to do. But when I look at it purely on paper, it would be because Dallas, to me on paper, isn't as good as the 49ers. And the results have borne that out so far.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. It's just, it cracks me up rewatching the previous games. They did the fake punt. And then last year, I forget what type of weird, I think they had a receiver throw a pass or whatever the hell it was. Mike, I want to pull up this tweet for you. Because this is something, my first thought, I was about to tweet out and I saw you had already tweeted it. This post from the NFL account talking about how the Cowboys offense is averaging 31 points per game, second in the NFC to the 49ers offense averaging 33 points per game. And you said, this is cool and all, but I promise you the Cowboys offense is not scoring 31 points per game. Their team is, and shout out to that defense, especially for helping, but that offense is a joke. Could you break this down a little bit for us, for the people that don't know?
Yeah, absolutely. Between special teams and defense, the Cowboys have 4 touchdowns on the season. That's 28 points through 4 games. So they're being spotted. Their offense, this 31 points per game is being spotted 7 points a game. In retrospect, right? Where the 49ers don't have any special teams or defensive points. So our 33 is legit offensive production, right? The defense is still finding their way for them to help the 49ers win games. Meanwhile, Dallas, they have been in it from the beginning, from the very, very beginning. I mean, you start week 1, what was that, Monday night or Sunday night football against the Giants, and they had 2 scoring possessions. They win a game without one, and then the next game they had one, the last game they had one as well. So, that's 28 points. It's a touchdown a game. If you subtract that from there, you don't have to be a mathematician here, but that's only 24 points a game their offense is actually giving their team. That's not going to cut it against a team that is legitimately putting up 30 plus points a game. It's just not going to cut it. So this is going to be interesting. You also have in their defense points allowed, right? Where you see the 10.3 and then the 14.5 for the Niners. And again, their defense is getting some turnovers. Their defense is getting the points and all that stuff. And our defense, we're kind of like figuring things out. That's what the 49ers defense is doing. At least that's what it feels like to me anyway. I won't speak for anyone else. It feels like we're still kind of like, we're good enough to turn it on when we want to, but we're still experimenting to find out exactly what it is that we do well. So, I give the credit to them, and their defense has been doing their job. You can only play the teams that are on the schedule, and so you're expected to go out there and perform. But that 31 and 33, it's not real. That is not real at all. We are the number 1 scoring team in the NFC, and if it was just based off of offensive production, the Dallas Cowboys would be something like 6th in the NFC. So just keep that in mind when you're looking at that score.
That is a trip. I don't get how can the actual NFL account post that? It's literally not a real stat. I mean, to credit it to the offense is weird. I don't know if they should have just said like team output. I don't know how they could make that differentiation.
Just take the word offense out and put PPG.
There you go.
Right. You do points per game allowed.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll get into the news in a bit. Die Hard 49ers for Life says that's why they got Randy. We'll talk about the Randy Gregory trade shortly. The keys to victory in this game, I think it all has to come down to, as it did with the previous 2 matchups. I know those 2 were in the playoffs, but still it's equally as important, is ball security. Dak Prescott last year led the NFL in interceptions. I know this year, I think he only has 1 through 4 games, but it certainly isn't for lack of trying. And it's also just because he really hasn't had to do much. The Cowboys have been up big and really just allowed their running game to take over. And he really hasn't had to pass much. I think I saw a stat that he's responsible for 4 touchdowns in there are 4 games this year, like total. So it's not like he's lighting the opposing defenses on fire. But I think ball security is going to be huge. And last year, Matt, you mentioned the playoff performance matchup, excuse me. That was the difference. Dak turned it over twice. Purdy did not turn the ball over. And I'm knocking on wood as I'm saying this. Through 4 games, Purdy has yet to throw an interception. Hopefully that trend continues tomorrow. What would you say, if not ball security, Matt, is the biggest, 49ers win if factor tomorrow?
Right. And to touch on your point about Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy has better statistics across the board. Higher completion percentage, more yards, more touchdowns, doesn't have a pick yet. So if everything holds, we know that the 49ers will have at least a statistical advantage in the passing game with the quarterbacks. I think the 49ers win, and it's, the key to victory for me is not allowing Dallas to get off short passes. And I think that that's kind of what they're going to look for underneath stuff, because that seems to be a lot of teams' book on the 49ers in terms of you can keep the defense out there and you can make them go on these 10, 11, 12, 13-yard drives. They're going to get tough in the red zone, and it's hard to score touchdowns. But if you can just continuously put points on the board, then maybe you can get lucky, force a turnover against them, and kind of go from there. I think that's what other teams are going to have to do. The 49ers, if they can not give up what they did like against Matt Stafford and the Rams, or like they did with that 99-yard drive that Arizona went on, and they can get off the field quickly on defense, that's going to be the key to victory for them. They should, if they do that, it's going to be a cakewalk for them.
Okay, I love it. Mike, same question. Keys to victory. What 49ers win if?
Yeah, I agree with a lot of what Matt is saying. It's interesting. The moment we started this episode tonight, I turn on NFL Network and I have it on mute in the background, and they are actually playing the 2022 playoff game between the Niners and the Cowboys. So I don't know if it's an East Coast thing or I don't know if it's NFL Network overall, but it's actually pretty cool to see this. And it goes back to exactly what Matt was saying. I'm watching the 49ers defense out there right now, and Charvarius Ward is playing such soft coverage. Even when they are in man, he's just giving up 12 yards of cushion no matter what. And when Dak pulls his arm back, that's when he closes in on where the ball carrier is. And it's a little too late. You're going to give up the dink and dunk stuff and let the teams march down the field. But that is more likely where you're going to get the errors, right? If teams have to go on 11 plus play drives to score, it's just more opportunities for the defense to make a play. But it also feels like, death by 1,000 cuts when you're watching it and you're cheering for the defense that's out there allowing these dink and dunk passes. Like, come on, man, like make a stop, do something, press them or something, And so they respect the speed of some of these wide receivers that are out there. Tony Pollard is still the guy that's out there. So we're not getting many changes here. I think it's really going to come down to the defensive scheme. Are they going to do more man? Or are they going to play zone? The Niners have been, it just feels like they're doing a lot of zone coverage this year, and I haven't been the biggest fan of it. And then if you're gonna play someone at the line, press these guys, make them earn every field, reroute these guys, make them disrupt their timing. Disrupt their timing when they're out there and they go to snap this ball. Don't let Dak Prescott dink and dunk you down the field. And let whatever it is that they think information is that they're getting from Trey Lance, let that all just be a negative. Let them think that they're getting something from him, and we turn it against them and make it a strength for the 49ers.
And, I started this off by mentioning ball security, but I think also another huge key to victory is going to be like conversion rate in the red zone. The Cowboys have had a ton of trips. They seem to have no problem getting inside the opponent's 20-yard line. But once they get in there, it's like everything falls apart. I had the stat pulled up here per Warren Sharp. 85 red zone plays, only 7 touchdowns. That's the worst in the NFL. The 49ers on the flip side, I believe, have one of the highest rates of scoring a touchdown once they actually do enter the red zone. I don't have the stat in front of me. But I think that that's going to be something that if continues tomorrow, we'll see where, bear out in the 49ers' favor, because the 49ers just cannot be stopped once they get into the, inside the 20. On the flip side, the Cowboys can't seem to get anything in. So that's going to be something very important to keep an eye on.
So the Niners in 2023 are scoring on 66.7% of their red zone drive. This is touchdowns only, by the way. This is just touchdowns. And the Cowboys are, wow, 36.8%. So they are ranked 30th. The Niners are ranked 7th. And again, that's just touchdowns. I didn't look up field goals. So touchdowns only. The Niners are 7th in the NFL, while the Cowboys are 30th.
I pulled this up from Sumer Sports. I think is how you pronounce it. NFL offenses entering week 5 of the 2023 season. Let me pull this up here. Obviously the Dolphins, that 70-point outing they had is going to put them way up there as far as EPA per play. But the 49ers are not far behind. And then obviously the Bills, 49ers right at 50%. And the Cowboys step, maybe in the next tier, the third tier of teams. So the 49ers offense, we talked about this last week after. Go ahead, Mike. Go ahead.
This is such a weird stat because I went back and I looked at it, right? We had 8 drives in week 1 and we scored on 6 of them. I'm not going to tell you the whole breakdown, but we've punted the ball less than 4 times in the game. And we've had 7 on average, 7 or 8 offensive drives. I don't understand how we're only 50%. This number doesn't make any sense to me. I don't get this. I don't understand this at all. If you go back and just look at the punt, there was the one game, the Cardinals game. The Niners punted 1 time and we pinned them inside the 1. Like how is that not? We had 5 scoring drives. It was 35, right? We had all touchdowns, no field goals. It was 5 scoring drives. We had 6 possessions. How? Oh well, you know what? I'm sorry. Kneel downs. They're probably counting kneel downs in that. That's why. The stat that I was looking at didn't count kneel downs like victory formation as a drive, as a scoring drive. So that's probably why.
That is dumb. But this is something we talked about after last week, the recap after the Cardinals game. Are we a little premature in saying the identity is shifting to an offensive team? Like, is the offense bearing more of the load than the defense for the first time since Kyle Shanahan has been here? Matt, am I a little ahead of putting the cart before the horse here by saying that?
I will say yes, just in the fact that once again, for the third time in 4 years or whatever, the 49ers are essentially on their 3rd defensive coordinator in 4 years, right? And you're asking them to switch up, and the schemes aren't drastically different. It's not like they're going from 4-3 to a 3-4 or having to completely redo the way that they do things. But there are going to be subtle differences in the way that a Robert Saleh calls coverages versus the way a D'Amico Ryans calls coverages versus the way Steve Wilkes is going to call coverages. And all 3 had different areas of specialty within their purview as the defensive coordinator. Robert Saleh kind of trends to be more of like a defensive line type of guy. Obviously, D'Amico Ryans, former NFL linebacker, and Steve Wilkes is a secondary guy. All of those things and all of that turnover can lead to a little bit of uncertainty trying to catch up, so to speak. We always think of offensive playbooks as the most complicated, and to an extent that's going to be a little bit true, but knowing down distance situations and what a particular coach wants over another for the defenders is going to be a little bit different. They're also working with some new personnel. You've got Diabador Lenore starting on the outside for the first time in his, really in his career to start a season. And you have year 2 of Charvarius Ward. Gibson and Hufanga are back, but then you've got Javon Hargrave coming over, right? Year 2 of Drake Jackson, that looks different. And it's just going to take time for this whole thing to gel together. And at the same time, when you look at yards per game and points per game, the 49ers are still top 5 in both of those categories. So it's not even like the defense is playing bad. I think that's something that 49er fans, that we as fans kind of have to temper our expectations on, right? Still a top 10 defense in just about every metric. And I think we're just a little spoiled by what has been. I don't think it's a bad defense. It's just that the 49ers offense has absolutely exploded coming out of the gates. I would expect more ebb and flow as the season goes along. But right now it looks like the offense is doing a lot of the pulling. I would just say pump the brakes. We're barely a quarter through the season at this point.
Okay. All right. I'm not mad at it. It is promising at the very least to at least see this finally happening. The offense taking the step forward on a Kyle Shanahan, because this is something that we had been begging for. I mean, last year we lost a game. What was the final score of that Denver game, Mike? 12-13, 11-12. I mean, it was
11-10.
11-10. Oh my God. When the
Yeah.
defense holds the opposing team to 11 points, technically 9 because the offense gifted him 2, and you still lose that game. That's excruciating. I want to talk a little bit about Brock Purdy, and then we can get into a little bit of Randy
Before
Gregory
you
news.
get to Brock Purdy,
Yes, sir.
I saw a comment on the bottom of the screen where it said it's about time, right? This is what Kyle Shanahan was hired for. I don't know if you guys remember, we were getting bullied by Seattle, even during the Harbaugh era, right? Like if we played Seattle in Seattle, just chalk it up as a loss. There was nothing you can do about it. And I don't know if you guys remember the off season in which we hired Shanahan and Lynch. Arizona played the Seattle Seahawks, and they just thrashed them. I mean, not Arizona. I'm sorry. Atlanta played the Seattle Seahawks, and they thrashed them in the NFC Championship game or the divisional round. I don't remember which one it was. And so I was like pounding the table, like that should be our guy. That's the guy we got to go after. And so they went out there and did it. They just showed the stat in this game here. Brock Purdy started week 14, and the 49ers are putting up 34 plus points a game. And here we are now at 33 and a half. Like this is not some fluke. This is Kyle Shanahan finally has his offense clicking the way that he wants it to be. So, and I agree with what Matt was saying. We've been spoiled by a top 3 or better defense over the last 4 years, so we have to kind of temper our expectation. If your defense is top 10 and your offense is top 5, top 3, I mean, that's the formula for success right there. And that's where we are.
I mean, you're no longer dependent on the defense, keeping the opponent under 15 or 17 to 20 points, hoping your offense can get to 20. It's like, so far, you can count on your offense putting at least 4 touchdowns on the board or 3 touchdowns and a couple field goals. And that gives your defense so much room to work with. That's an extra 15, 13 to 10 points that your defense has to work with. But okay, I wanted to talk about Brock Purdy because there's been a lot of media a lot of talk going on in the national media about Brock Purdy. A lot of 49ers fans are mad at this Ringer reporter, Stephen Ruiz, I believe is his name, who, I'm honestly questioning this guy's football knowledge or eyes for the game at all, because he's had quotes saying like, I've watched the film and Brock Purdy's just not doing anything special. It's all the scheme, yada, 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 dink and dunk. And then I believe he was on a podcast for the Ringer recently saying that if the 49ers win a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy, he'll stop covering the sport entirely because basically everything he knows to be true about quarterbacks will be proved wrong. And he's that certain that the 49ers won't win with Brock Purdy. But I don't know what the hell else to tell this guy. Like, if you actually do watch the film, and it's not like I'm some film junkie, but I've seen tons of clips. I watch every single JT O'Sullivan video because I think he's fantastic. And Brock is doing things that not every quarterback can do. And I'm pulling up this chart here of EPA, quarterback total EPA through week 4, and none other than Brock Purdy is leading the charts with a little over 60 EPA, ahead of Tua, ahead of Josh Allen, ahead of Patrick Mahomes, like literally the number 1 quarterback in the NFL. Matt, I'm gonna toss it to you. 1, your thoughts on this, and 2, what would it take for Brock to do before, national talking heads finally start to accept him as maybe he is good, maybe it's not the scheme?
Yeah, in terms of Stephen Ruiz and what he's doing, the fact that he decided to lay it out in terms of, if the 49ers win a Super Bowl with him, then I'll stop covering because everything that I know will be whatever. Like, what kind of hubris and arrogance do you have to be so up your own backside with your evaluations that you don't allow any room for yourself to be wrong? You don't allow for any type of objective analysis. And we've seen it on the other side too, right? All the haters, that say Brock Purdy can't do it. And there's the equal amount of guys who Brock Purdy can do no wrong. And I think it's somewhere in the middle, right? He's played very, very well, but let's be honest, he's going to throw an interception. He's going to, he's already has the only 49ers turnover lost, right? That fumble against Pittsburgh in the game where he had a couple of fumbles. He's not perfect by any means, but the fact of the matter is, the one thing when he says, oh, I've watched the film and I don't see what he does special, the consistency that Brock Purdy has displayed is what's special. That is what's special. The ability to do it each and every week. And I'll say this, if you're not watching the tape, I'll tell you another thing that's special. His footwork and his base are outstanding. He's got outstanding footwork and an outstanding throwing platform. He gets the ball out quickly and on time, and that's what you want out of your quarterback. In terms of, Brock Purdy, what he has to do to win over national media, man, I don't give a shit about the national media. They flap their opinions like a flag in the breeze. You know what I mean? They're back and forth, whatever. I mean, the famous one, right, is that, Colin Cowherd was all positive about Trey Lance before the draft, and then allegedly Trey Lance dumped his daughter, and then Trey Lance was a bum, right? With no indication otherwise. Nothing on the field told him that. It just, whatever, right? National media is going to hate no matter what. Skip Bayless, total fraud, and just completely hates on people for no reason. Same thing. There'll be other guys that'll pump other guys up. Everybody has their guy. If you're looking for national media to validate your quarterback and you need that from national media, then you're doing it wrong, man. Just enjoy what you're seeing with your eyes. The 49ers are winning games. We don't need the plaudits and the back padding and, the grandstanding about the whole thing. If the 49ers are winning games, that's going to be enough to get them vaulted into a conversation about being one of the better teams. And at some point or another, it's just, you might not notice it right away, but that trickle will come and Brock Purdy will just be accepted as a good quarterback.
Yeah. Also, if you're so certain that it is the scheme and that any above average quarterback could come in and have this level of success, then wouldn't you almost want them to win a Super Bowl to prove your point? If you're Steven Ruiz, that, Kyle could do this with anybody above average. Look, they're going to win it this year as long as Brock stays at this level. Instead, it's like he took the other angle and ran with it 100 yards the other way. Mike, go ahead.
It just doesn't make any sense. I don't know a quarterback and system that aren't tied together. It doesn't make any sense. Like, it's like, let me insert a quarterback and him not operate in the system, and then I can judge him. Like, what are you saying? What are you asking? Do you want every play to be a broken down play where he's scrambling and then throwing the ball? Like, is that what you're looking for? Because that's what the offensive linemen get paid for, right? Like, Brock Purdy is operating above what Jimmy Garoppolo did or any other, I mean, hell, he's operating above what Matt Ryan did in the same system. Like, you can't separate the system from the quarterback. I hate when I hear that argument. And I understand what you said his name was Ruiz. I understand what he's saying. It's like, if you get any decent quarterback in here, this is what they'll do. That's fine. But the Niners have been searching for that decent quarterback, and they have him now. If you want to just peg Brock Purdy as decent, fine, by all means. But he's operating in this offense. The numbers are right here on the board. That's what he's asked to do. He can't do anything more than that because the offense is working and clicking and firing on all cylinders. What else do you want? What else do you want the kid to do? I just don't understand it. And then last week, I'll be interested to know when this podcast was recorded. You finally see the deep balls being implemented into the system. What literally, I'm not even exaggerating. What more do you want? What more do you want to see? So it just doesn't make any sense. It's a nonsensical argument that people are making just to try to hold out hope that the Niners somehow fold or somehow they come back down to earth. And it doesn't make any sense. The system is the system. The quarterback is operating in the system, and that's what you're expecting him to do. Same thing happened for Steve Young and Joe Montana in the West Coast Bill Walsh style offense. Like that's what you're looking for. So they got to cut the nonsense out, man. It doesn't make any sense. It literally doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Here's the thing. We've gotten to you talk about national media accepting Brock Purdy. They kind of already have by just the way, even in the negativity, the way that they're talking about him, right? This was a guy that was the last pick in the draft. And instead of celebrating his success, they're trying to tear him down. That tells me that in the national media's eyes, he's made it. He's at a level where it's not a feel-good story anymore. You're just looking to pick the flaws off this guy. And that to me is indicative that they don't remember the Mr. Irrelevant thing. Right. Now he's just in comparison to what Trey Lance could have been, first round pedigree, what Jimmy Garoppolo has been, multiple years starting in the NFL. Now they're comparing him Dak Prescott. You don't get the comparisons to, oh, what's Brock Purdy like against CJ Stroud or Trevor Lawrence or whatever. People are like, oh, how does he compare to, oh, he's no Josh Allen or Patrick Mahomes. And it's like, okay, well, you're skipping a whole tier of quarterbacks to get to this spot for a guy who last year was a 7th round, 262nd overall pick who had to come in after injuries to 2 other quarterbacks and has done what he's done. That's how you're gonna try to tear this kid down. To me, that says that he's more than anybody thought he was capable of, and people have forgotten that he was Mr. Irrelevant, and now he's just somebody that you talk about in the pantheon of starting quarterbacks, and that he's going to be there. People want to compare him to greatness. That means that he's already doing something right, because if he hadn't been, he'd still just be Mr. Irrelevant, and that's clearly not the case.
Yeah. It is funny. It's almost like, well, he can't throw for 450 yards every day and 6 touchdowns, so he's not that good. And it's like, okay, well, what the hell? Like, well, how many quarterbacks can do that week in and week out? One, how many quarterbacks are asked to do that consistently? Right. The guy helps his team win games, does not put them in bad positions, does not turn the ball over, does not make boneheaded decisions. That's about as much as you can ask of a young quarterback. And I agree, Matt. That's the best argument that you can make, is why not compare him to other young quarterbacks, maybe in his draft class, maybe in the draft classes, above or before him. I guarantee you right now, if they're redrafting that class, Brock Purdy does not go in the 7th. He's probably going in the 1st. So it really is just stupid to try and make that argument from their point of view. Mike, you asked when Steven Ruiz made this point. I have the clip. It's about 2 minutes. I don't know if you guys want to hear it. It's from 2 days ago. So this was after the Cardinals game where Brock had already shown that he had worked on his deep ball. I'll just play it. And this is courtesy of our guy Brad over at the SF Niners. He got the snippet here.
It's a grift. And honestly, I'm going to have to censor myself here, because if I start on this topic, this is going to be a 4-hour podcast. You thought the Patriots discussion was long. I could go like 7 hours on Brock Purdy. I'm sorry. I watched the film and like he's not doing anything. Like he's running the offense well, and I get the argument that he's a good quarterback for this system, and he's the right quarterback for this system. And then I get yelled at when I rank him 25th. Here's my thing. I'm ranking these quarterbacks not based on their suitability for the Kyle Shanahan system. I'm ranking them based on what they would do in like a normal offense, like a league average offense. And if we put Brock Purdy in the league average offense, this game isn't going to lead to top of the league results. And like when the play that made me lose my mind this week was he threw a pass downfield to Brandon Ayuk over the middle of the field. It was probably like 30 yards downfield. It was into double coverage. He underthrew the ball by about 10 yards.
Wasn't
safety, the Cardinal safety, number 34, like overran the ball. He couldn't find it in the air. And then Ayuk tracked it down and caught it. And like 49ers Twitter is like celebrating this throw. Like that's a Freudian slip. Brock saw the future. Like when he went to throw the pass, he knew the Cardinal safety was going to overrun it. He knew it. And he knew Brandon Ayuk was going to realize it and track the ball and cut off his route short and get it. And that's why he threw it short. He did it on purpose, which is ridiculous.
The game is, can the 49ers win the Super Bowl like this?
They can't.
You think they can't?
No.
I think
just
they can.
Goes against. If they do, I'm done. I'm not covering the sport again. If they win it with Brock Purdy, Sam Darnold, sure, I can get on board with Sam Darnold. Not Brock Purdy.
Brock Purdy had 1 incompletion last week.
He actually had 2, but the other one was negated by it wasn't a bad call, but it was a call that had no effect on the play. It didn't count, but he did incomplete another pass. I'm a hater. Well, I'm hating so hard right now.
You sleep at night?
This guy is a moron. This guy is an idiot. He like there was no 10-yard underthrown pass. Brandon Ayuk did not have to turn around and run back 10 yards for a comeback route or anything like that. So he's exaggerating to try to prove a point. And the fact of the matter is it was a completed pass. You can sit here and say if and buts and all that stuff, but none of that, absolutely none of that makes a difference. There was no underthrown pass by 10 yards or anything. It's just freaking silly.
Yeah. Matt, I can see you chomping at the bit to share your thoughts on this.
So stupid.
Well, dude, the guy says, "What? I just don't understand Brock Purdy. He hasn't done anything," and then immediately undercuts his own argument by saying, "Sure, he runs the offense well." Yeah, that's doing something. You moron.
And then he says, let's put him in a normal offense. What the fuck does that even mean?
Average offense. Okay. Well, tell me with league average wide receivers, how much worse the Kansas City Chiefs offense looks than it has the last couple of years. It turns out that when you have good players, it helps everybody. A rising tide raises all boats.
Yeah.
And again, you can have all the playmakers in the world, but if you have a bad quarterback, you're not going to be able to throw the ball. Just ask DeAndre Hopkins when he was in Arizona. Just ask him when he was with Houston, right? After Deshaun Watson was gone. Just ask all these other wide receivers on bad teams, these really good wide receivers that are stuck, right? They have stats because they're fantastic, but nobody else on the offense does. And this offense for the 49ers eats. And the fact of the matter that he said, if Brock Purdy wins, I'll stop covering the NFL. Now, if you told me Sam Darnold, sure, I'm on board with that. Bro, you're an idiot. So you should just stop covering it because you're not good at it. Like in what world do you watch Sam Darnold play football and then watch Brock Purdy play football and think that in any way Sam Darnold is better than Brock Purdy from a decision-making standpoint, from running the offense to taking care of the ball? Sam Darnold has a stronger arm and is bigger. But that doesn't mean anything. Just ask Jamarcus Russell. Just ask Ryan Leaf. Size isn't everything. Throwing power is not everything. Being able to I remember this like it was yesterday. When Kyle Bowler was coming out of Cal, I remember his draft video where he kneeled at the 50-yard line on one knee and threw the ball through the uprights, and everybody was super impressed. Kyle Bowler sucked, though. He was trash. Because guess what? I'm a firm believer over the last couple of years that the way that you process the game is actually what is more meaningful than the physical traits. The reason why 75% of quarterbacks drafted wash out is because that's the one area of the game that is the hardest to evaluate, how you process the game, right? A lot of these college offenses don't necessarily translate to the NFL. You know, a perfect example, a guy like George Kittle caught 20 passes at Iowa for 4 years, comes in and is now one of the best tight ends in the NFL. Like, who would have saw that coming?
Right.
Again, the scheme matters that you run, and just because you were all that in college, we've seen it before, doesn't mean you're going to make it in the NFL. But also, if you weren't the best in college, that doesn't necessarily disqualify you from being a really good NFL quarterback. Patrick Mahomes didn't win a lot at Texas Tech, but he's really good because he can process. So I just think that what he's saying is just so, and it almost seems like when he says, oh, I'm being a hater, it's like he's playing a character. But why does everybody want to imitate the First Take and the Undisputed and the herd mentality of these talking heads where you're just saying things to create clicks, to create controversy, to get people to talk about it? Why not just be honest with yourself, be honest with everybody else? Because to me, you're being a clown, and it makes no sense to me. So he should just stop covering the NFL now, because obviously he doesn't know what
he's clearly just talking about physical attributes. Like, and if that's what you're going to say, then just say it. You know, just come flat out and say he doesn't have the physical attributes, because nothing else he said came close to making any sense. That's the only thing that you could question about Brock Purdy at this point. There's nothing else that you could possibly question. And I also I saw the comments from Jim Everett about Joe Budden and Cypher in 2011 and things like that. I just wanted to let you know, Jim, I was at Joe Budden's house when that premiered on television. I was invited over. He was having a watch party for that BET Cypher, and I was there.
That's insane. That's dope. This really screams to me that what we've seen over the past couple of years is scouts, the media scouts, because I feel like those are separate things, fallen in love, and both of you guys touched on it in your responses, in physical attributes in these quarterbacks. Are you above 6'4"? Are you at least 6'4"? Are you 230 pounds? Do you have a rocket arm? Can you also run from the pocket and make plays with your legs? And Matt, you touched on it. Processing has almost been forgotten. It's almost like they go down the checklist and they go, okay, nice to meet you. And it's like, well, you didn't even ask if I know how to read a defense. You didn't even ask if I know how to, call a play. You didn't even ask if I know, what to look for and to audible out of this or that. And when this happens and Brock Purdy comes on and has immediate success and looks better and better as the seasons continue, or as the games, I should say, continue. It's only still technically his first season games wise. They're left with egg on their face and they feel stupid. So they find themselves actively rooting against him when we should all be sitting here saying this is one of the greatest sports stories if it continues on this trajectory that we will ever see. And I'm not saying it's Tom Brady like, but the rise has been Tom Brady-esque. Tom Brady comes in, six-round rookie.
We've kind of seen this before. Kurt Warner. Yes, thank you. Yeah, it's both of them. Well, Tom Brady, I'm sure, will have a movie made. Kurt Warner did have a movie made. Like, it's something out of a fairy tale. Mike, go ahead.
And what Brock Purdy is doing is better than what both of those guys did when they first came in. What he is doing is statistically better than what both of those guys did. You know, so we can stop saying, you know, I don't want to compare him to Tom Brady. Good, because Tom Brady doesn't want you to compare him to him, because when you start pulling the stats, Tom Brady's getting blown out the water right now. Look, what we've seen is what we've seen, period. And you go grab Tom Brady's first 10, 11 starts and compare them to Brock Purdy's, and Brock Purdy is blowing Tom Brady out the water. They don't want to have that kind of discussion. I promise you they don't want to have that discussion.
I don't know if any of you want to tackle this one. If anybody could be good in this offense, why wasn't Trey Lance? To be fair, we didn't really see
I hope that's a rhetorical question, but like, why was it Trey? Because Brock Purdy was better at it. I think that's pretty clear. And two, like, Trey Lance was continuously injured. So like, what are we supposed to see from him? Yeah. It's not to say that he couldn't have been good, but you know, and the few times that we saw Trey Lance, Brock Purdy just looked like he had a grip from day one, whereas there were times where Lance looked a little lost out there. Yeah. I'm not saying that he couldn't have gotten there, but like, just from rip, I think that Brock Purdy has come in ready to go.
Super chat from Cocoa Puff. As Niners fans, I just so enjoy paying so little and getting so much from this employee. Yeah, minimum wage of any drafted player.
Yeah, dude, I cannot believe that he still has a roommate.
Drives a Toyota Sequoia.
Yeah, that's
which
wild.
I thought is funny because he got that sponsorship with that Lucid electric car company, and he's posted about that car. I don't know, maybe it was just a rental. But
have you guys ever seen the Lucid Airs in person?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, they're preposterously nice.
Yeah, they're really, really nice.
They're really nice. I have a Tesla, and like the Lucid Air in terms of like interior features slaps on that shit.
They're beautiful.
It's so nice, dude. But they're like, I mean, the good ones are like 190 grand. So
yeah, it's insane.
Very expensive car.
We got another super chat from S Flood 2542. Do you think it's Brock or Kyle? Why can't it be both? That's all I'll say.
Exactly. Why can't it be both?
Yeah,
it's both. You don't have one without the other, and we have to try to we have to stop trying to separate them.
Nobody says
don't have one without the other.
Was it Sean Payton or Drew Brees? I guess people do say now, is it Bill Belichick or Tom Brady? Because Tom left.
Pretty clearly Tom Brady.
Yeah, pretty clearly. You know, nobody said, is it Joe Montana or Bill Walsh? Nobody says, is it Steve Young? You know, like it's a perfect marriage. And this is what I said a couple of weeks ago, guys. When these players are coming out of college, I heard it a million times when the 49ers traded up to draft a quarterback. Whoever lands with Kyle Shanahan is going to have a perfect situation immediately to hit the ground running, because that's the perfect offense for a quarterback to come in and find success. And then on the flip side, when that actually does happen, we penalize said quarterback for doing exactly what you just said should happen if they're good enough. It's like you were just saying this is the perfect offense for a quarterback to come in and find success, and yet you're holding that against them. You know what I mean? It makes no sense to me how they can, you know, hype it up on one end and then penalize them on the other end. So I don't get it, but that's just where we are. Yeah, since Tom even compliments Purdy, and Aaron Rodgers, I saw, was a pretty big fan of Brock Purdy, said he's doing special things. So yeah, man, I really do appreciate it. What's up, Mike? What are you laughing for?
Oh, no. You mentioned the thing with Aaron Rodgers, and he was like, I haven't seen a lot of the games, but you know, I did see the one, and what he's doing is pretty good. So, I mean, you can't, you have to go out of your way to try to knock this kid, and people are going to continue to try it because they're hoping that Mr. Irrelevant eventually falls off or comes back down to earth, and it just doesn't make any sense.
I don't know if you guys want to discuss Matt, that's pretty funny. I'll share that on the screen here.
I just created that.
That's perfect. That's exactly what we're seeing. It's exactly what we're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Do you guys want to discuss the report? I don't know who it was from, Jerry Jones or McCarthy, that the Cowboys plan on using Trey Lance to extract information about the 49ers and what they'd like to do on offense. Did you guys see this report?
I did. I mean, people are going to overblow this. There's a famous line from The Matrix. There's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. And Trey Lance can tell them what the 49ers want to do, but you're not going to be able to stop it. And if you think that you can digest in whatever Trey Lance is doing on the scout team, Kyle Shanahan's entire offense, like he's not going to put wrinkles in there, like he's not going to get into his bag, and has installed things throughout the season that Trey Lance doesn't know about, you got another thing coming. It's just like you could do that about any person, right? Oh, Randy Gregory, new trade that we got. What do the Cowboys like to do? What do the Broncos like to do? XY. That's not how this works. And you could try to use him, but it's not going to be effective. Just plain and simple.
Yeah. I think it's pretty funny. Just for the simple fact that, do they not think, just like you said, Matt, Kyle Shanahan would change the calls or the signs? John Lynch was asked about it, and I don't have the exact quote of it up, but he basically said something along the lines of, he could try and do that, but in my experience, that ends up kind of hurting you more than helping you, because you try and remember things specifically as they were, and you get a little thing wrong. So I guess they'll see what they can get out of him, but I'm not expecting this to be too beneficial.
Isn't that like the coolest? I mean, one of the cooler videos of Cam Newton or whatever, where the defense is calling out the play and he's like, "Oh, I see you watch film too. All right, cool. Watch this," and then runs a touchdown play.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like you focus too much on what you think is happening, and then all of a sudden, that's not what happens. You've got eyeballs in the wrong. It's watching the backfield, right? Because you think you know what's coming, and something entirely different happens, and you're just lost.
Yeah. So this is the quote from John Lynch at KBR. "My experience with that as a player is it tends to screw you up more than it helps. I mean, this isn't the Houston Astros banging a drum for fastball or curveball. He can't do that." So nice shot at the Houston Astros there. But yeah, I agree. I mean, what more can you tell them that's not already? It's not like all of these games are played in secret. They're televised in film that other coaches then go and watch and see what they do. So good luck. That's all I'll say. Good luck.
Right. It's like, what is Trey Lance going to tell you that you can't look at on the film?
All right, you guys want to talk about
Trey Lance? Is going to be like, "Oh yeah, Kyle Shanahan likes 2 eggs, 2 strips of bacon, and toast for breakfast when we're in the meeting." Like all the stuff that's out on the field, you're going to be able to see through the tape.
Yeah. When we saw this quote and we sent it in the group chat, the 49ers Hive group chat, jokingly I replied, he's going to say something along the lines of like, "Yeah, Kyle didn't like it when I skipped screen passes to the wide receiver, so they're definitely not going to be doing that." Like. And I like Trey Lance. It's just a joke. Okay. I'm rooting for the kid's success, just not with Dallas, because I obviously hate the Cowboys. All right. You guys want to talk about Randy Gregory real quick? And what you think of the trade?
Sure.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
Okay. So was it yesterday that this news broke?
Yeah.
Yesterday afternoon. All the reports were that the Broncos were basically going to cut him. But of course the 49ers hopped in and came up with the trade for him. They swapped late round picks. I believe like a 6th and a 7th got swapped or something along the lines. But the biggest thing here is that the Broncos are on the hook for his salary over his base salary of like $840,000, something crazy small. The Broncos are still on the hook for all of the bonuses and signing contract guarantees, whatever. How much does this move the needle, Mike? I'll start with you. As far as what the 49ers defensive line can do.
If I'm being completely honest with you guys, it's not going to make a difference at all. I have never been impressed with Randy Gregory as an NFL player. I've never been impressed with his mindset. I've never been impressed with his work ethic or anything like that. This guy missed some absurd amount of games because he refused to put the pipe down. He was the whole time, and he chose that path over actually playing and honing his craft. It's a great move for the Niners. You know, you get a second round pick for a swap of a 6th and 7th. We gave them a 6th. We got their 7th, and you're paying him the vet minimum. So from that standpoint, it's a genius move. You didn't have to go out there and compete and bid against other teams on the free agent market. They work out a last second trade. The Broncos were going to be on the hook for that money regardless. So in their minds, we just got another draft pick that's a little bit higher than what our 7th was. So it was a win-win for both teams in that aspect, but I just don't think he is going to make that big of a difference. I've never been high on Randy Gregory or anything that he does on the field. This guy has never had more than 6 sacks in a season, so he's just going to be another role player, if you want to call him that. Our hope right now is that he can come in and be Kerry Hyder of 3 years ago. Like that's what we're hoping for. I'm not expecting anything of this guy.
Matt, what are your thoughts on this acquisition?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of in agreement with Mike. Randy Gregory, fine. Like, especially the price that we got him for was a steal for what he could potentially be. If you can come in and give us a little bit more than what the bottom end of the rotation, and they did release Kerry Hyder to make room for Randy Gregory. Oh, that's the bar he has to clear. He's got to be better than what Kerry Hyder was. And then it's a win trade for the 49ers. I mean, a pick swap between 6 and 7 with the player. And with the Broncos paying $10 million, you're paying the vet minimum. You essentially got Randy Gregory for free. So at that point, what does it hurt if you want to kick the tires and see what he's got? If he comes in and performs, fantastic. If he doesn't, he's got no guaranteed money past the season. You can cut him free and clear. Don't even worry about it. Just wash your hands of the whole thing, and you can move on. But it's good that the team is doing something, and this is something that's not going to eat into their cap to re-sign Brandon Ayuk. It's not going to eat into their, draft capital from any meaningful standpoint. I know we talk about the late round picks all the time. I think the expectation of every late round 49ers pick working out is a little unrealistic. But the 49ers have a first round pick this year. They have their second round, third round, whatever. They don't necessarily, the pick swap is a nothing burger to me. So what you get out of them, if it's nothing, you basically gave up nothing. So no harm, no foul. But if you get something, then you've clearly won this trade.
Yeah.
And the icing on the cake to the trade is that if the Niners go where we expect them to go, it's the last pick in the 6th round anyway. So for all intents and purposes, it was a 7th round pick. Like it's nothing. It's a good move if you get something out of them, like Matt said.
By the way, especially when you consider how horrific the Broncos are, the distance between those two trades could be one pick.
Yeah.
Literally one pick. The 49ers could give up 6th round, 32nd overall for Denver's 7th first pick overall. You know what I mean?
Right.
It could very well break down like that.
Yeah. So my whole take on this, when news broke that he was kind of on the trading block, or if not going to be released, our guy Christian asked us in the chat, do we see the 49ers going after him? And I immediately was like, no. I don't think this is the type of guy the 49ers go after. If you look at their history, the Charles Omenihu's, the who else have they traded for previously? Jordan Willis, obviously Christian McCaffrey, Emmanuel Sanders. But as far as defensive linemen, these kind of reclamation projects are high effort guys that even if they're on a crappy team, even if they're down, they're still giving it their all. Randy Gregory isn't that. Like the biggest problem with him since he got paid in Denver was his effort. And I was really surprised to see it. The 49ers did after that go ahead and trade for him. Kyle Shanahan, I believe, said something along the lines of, we know he's had some problems in the past, but after I've spoken with him, I believe he's on the right path, and we're here to help him with that. I think if any coach could unlock that potential that he has, it is Coach K and this defensive line playing alongside him. Something that is making me feel a little positive and hopeful for this trade, and David Lombardi pointed this out. The 49ers in season trade history, this year they got Randy Gregory. Last year they got Christian McCaffrey. Year before that, Charles Omenihu. 2020, Jordan Willis. 2019, Emmanuel Sanders. 2017, Jimmy Garoppolo. Like, these were all pivotal players at one point, whether it was for multiple years, whether it was just for a postseason run, whether it was for a season. They've been able to grab all of these kind of, I don't want to, no disrespect to these players, but kind of lower level players at the time and turn them into something. I mean, Charles Omenihu got paid this offseason for his production after the 49ers acquired him. So I'm positive and optimistic that the 49ers can get something out of Randy Gregory. And maybe this is just the type of environment that will produce that sort of effort from him finally. just like McDaniel's trying to get out of Chase Claypool in Miami. But I'm much more hopeful or positive, I guess, that this will happen here with the 49ers and Randy Gregory. All right. Let's see. We're going on 56 minutes here. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about before we start getting into like offensive, defensive, keys to the victory type things?
I would just, while I hope it's not this week, I would just caution 49er fans, eventually this run of regular season victories is going to come to an end. It won't be the end of the world when it does. This is still a very, very good football team, regardless of whether they win or lose. I'd like to see them take care of business at home against the Cowboys, but you never know. I would just temper expectations. I think this game is going to be as tough, if not tougher than the Rams game was. This is going to be a close one. The last two times, even in the playoffs that the 49ers and Cowboys have played, it's been a one-score game. So anything can happen. Just buckle up. It's gonna be a tense game. It's gonna be a lot of hand wringing at times, but it's gonna be a good one. I'm excited for it.
Okay, Mike, anything we didn't cover that you wanted to talk about?
I just hope that I don't see Deebo Samuel trying to block DeMarcus Lawrence in this game. I've seen it twice so far in this replay that's on right now, and both times one of them was a sack. He got right to Brock Purdy. So just use lineman on lineman. Let's not like over complicate what we're doing here, and let's just go out there and play a good brand of football. And we'll get to the breakdown soon. So.
Yeah. Aspera, I agree with this comment. Hyder, Arden, Omenihu, all weak linemen until they came here and got paid. Now Gregory has first-round talent. This is definitely the most talented player they've acquired in this sort of position to where they're trying to, turn him into a reclamation project. No disrespect to Randy Gregory, but the past couple of years have not been fantastic stat-wise. And Mike, I think you mentioned the highest amount of sacks he's had in a season is 6. So it's not like this guy's jumping off the stat page when he's at his highest anyway, but we don't need much from him. If you could give us 6 sacks this year, I think that's a solid year. In addition to, Bosa, Drake Jackson, Javon Hargrave, Javon Kinlaw, the names just pile up. So, all right. Last key to victory that I didn't talk about that I really do think is going to be important is the 49ers rushing attack. The Cardinals ran for 200 plus rushing yards on this Cowboys defense 2 weeks ago. If the 49ers can get to, that sort of rushing production, I don't see how the Cowboys can stay in this game. And maybe I'm too optimistic, but I think Christian McCaffrey is the perfect running back to do it. So if the 49ers can get that ground game going, it'll be good.
It can't just be him, though. Elijah Mitchell's already been ruled out. So we're going to need Jordan Mason to come up and play some meaningful snaps. And he did that against Arizona. It wasn't anything, that's going to break the doors off their hinges or anything like that. But he had a nice catch out of the backfield. He was able to get a good run or two. Just enough to give Christian McCaffrey a breather, right? Keep him fresh. Rotate when Christian needs a breather or whatever. And that I think that's going to be a big key. It's unfortunate that Elijah Mitchell is once again going through an injury-plagued season, particularly with his knees. But on to the next one, and I think Jordan Mason is a nice change of pace back for sure.
Yeah. And I think Kyle was asked why not put him on short-term IR, and it sounded to me like he was almost ready to go this week, but they're pretty certain he'll be ready to go next week. So it is unfortunate, but hopefully he'll come back next week. Mitchell's always hurt. SMH, hope he just goes on IR and gets completely healthy. Hopefully, if what Kyle's saying is true, we won't need the short-term IR and he'll just be good to go come next week. But it is unfortunate because he is always healthy. Always injured. I didn't pull up the injury report before the 49ers. Matt, you just said it. Mitchell is the only one out. Jawan Jennings with the shin injury, Greenlaw with the ankle, Samuel with the knee, and Charvarius Ward with the heel are all cleared to play. So we should see them all play Sunday night. As for the Cowboys, I thought I had just pulled it up here. Tight end Peyton Hendershot has been ruled out, while linebacker Damone Clark is listed as questionable. So both teams are pretty damn near full strength, which is good because there shouldn't be any excuses coming from either side. Do you guys want to get into offensive and defensive MVP predictions? Okay, let's start with the offense. I'll go first. I'm going to go with Brock Purdy. Quarterback, baby. I'm going to go with Brock Purdy. I think last year in the playoffs, that was kind of one of his first times where he was like, holy shit, this is an elite defense I'm facing. This isn't, some lower level defense that I could light up. And he was a little, I don't want to say like shook, but he was a little like had to take a moment to process things where normally he could just react. I think he's going to be better prepared for that come tomorrow night. He's totally in a just rolling in a fantastic, I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but he's in a groove. He's in a groove. And I think that will continue tomorrow night. I think Brock Purdy's going to have another very efficient game. I'm going to say 17 for 21, 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, and bet it right now because he's going to get that rushing touchdown as well. I'm getting the quarterback sneak touchdown, baby. Let's go. Mike, offensive MVP. Who do you got?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Christian McCaffrey here. I know it's low-hanging fruit and all. We've seen the dominant displays that he's gone through so far this season, and what he's on pace for is phenomenal as far as total touchdowns and all. But I just think that Matt alluded to it earlier. This is going to be a game that, or maybe it was you. I'm sorry, but this is going to be a game that the Niners should be able to run the ball comfortably on. The Cowboys do have a good pass rush. I don't want to take anything away from their defense, right? I don't want to just bypass them, but they are going to be a team that the Niners, for all intents and purposes, match up really well against, and the Niners have kind of put themselves in this position where whatever an opposing team is giving you, we not only can we take it, but we can also exploit some of those things. And so I think the run game is going to be a big part of it. More importantly, the running backs. If you lock things up downfield, we have a phenomenal option as a check down in a guy like Christian McCaffrey, or even, we'll see what Mason can do. But, I think that the running backs, McCaffrey in particular, is going to be the key to success for this game.
Okay. I love it. Matt, who do you got?
Listen, I gotta ride the hot hand. Every time that he's been out there and healthy, Brandon Ayuk has balled out. And I think that he is going to continue to do so. And he's going to be a big component into why the 49ers are going to be able to score touchdowns on Dallas's defense. Such a crisp route runner, and he's going to need to be on point because I believe with, DeMarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons out there, the 49ers are going to have to get the ball out pretty quick to keep Brock Purdy upright. It's another elite defensive lineman that's going to be going up against Colt McKivitz. I'm going to assume that Kyle Shanahan's going to game plan around that. So Brandon Ayuk in the short game is going to be very important. And then, he's just the best wide receiver they got. So getting him in space is going to be key.
Okay. I love that. All right. Defensive MVP. I'm going to go with Fred Warner. I think I picked Fred last week and he had a good game. We did not get a turnover as a defense. I think I predicted he would have one, but I'm going to go Fred Warner. He seems to always bring the extra juice for these Cowboys game. I was seeing the clips of him talking about on his podcast, just how much he enjoys these types of games where the other team is, just as good, or at least projected to be just as good. The bright lights, all of the pressures on you. He's just talking about that's when he feels like he's at his best. So I'm going to go with Fred Warner, 10 plus tackles. And I think he gets another pick because Dak is blind throwing across the middle. Mike, who do you got?
I'm actually going to go with Drake Jackson on this one. And I know this is going to be a bit of a stretch, right? But Drake Jackson, he's kind of been invisible. The Niners have upticked his snap count since week 1. He had 28 snaps in week 1, got the 3 sacks, and he has done nothing with more opportunities. And now you have the spark behind him with Randy Gregory coming in. He's got to be wondering if this guy was brought in to maybe take away some of those snaps. Now, Gregory won't be playing this week, and I think this is Drake Jackson's not last opportunity, but a pivotal point in his career here as a 49er. One of the things that Drake Jackson does really well is if he is not going to get to the quarterback, he gets his hands up. I'm going to predict that he has not 1, not 2, but 3 batted passes, and maybe one of them ends up results in an interception to a defensive lineman. So I'm going to say Drake Jackson, some of the smaller things to be a big game changer, a key player on our defense this week. He's going to be my defensive MVP prediction.
Okay. Matt, I know yours, but hit us with it anyway.
Nick Bosa, 3 sacks and a forced fumble. I mean, he's due. He's just due. Only 1 sack this season, but still PFF's highest graded defensive lineman. listen, man, he's going to get to Dak eventually, and it's going to be nice. The Dallas Cowboys offensive line is not what it has been in the past. I think it's exploitatable, and I think that Nick Bosa is going to do that. And this defensive line is too talented to not get home consistently. I think that as the season goes on, they're going to find ways to get those guys their lunch, and I think Nick Bosa is going to eat Sunday Night Football against Cowboys.
Okay. By the way, I am predicting right now Eric Armstead will make up for that total whiff in the playoffs last year where he just missed Dak completely on that last drive. Should have had a safety, completely missed him, argued that he was worried about getting penalized or fined. I think that's BS. I think he just missed it. So I think Eric Armstead's going to get a nice sack and have a little bit of a redemption from that play last year. All right, we're going to do final score predictions and chat pack. But before we do, we got to pay the bills. So we'll be right back after this. Just want to take a second to thank today's sponsor, MyBookie. As a bettor, you demand perfection, and MyBookie delivers. NFL, college football, and a brand new cash out system gives you options to bet and win all season long. The first two legs of your parlay hit, cash out early and use the funds on another bet. Or you could let it ride for the chance of a bigger payday. Join the MyBookie family for a season filled with odds boosts, free bets, and super contests. To get started, all you got to do is super simple. Go to mybookie.ag right now and register for an account for free. That's right, it's free. And whenever it is you're ready to make your first deposit, just use promo code HIVE. It's right here on the screen, HIVE, to grab a welcome bonus on the house. That's our gift to you for being a part of the 49ers Hive family. That's promo code HIVE, HIVE, to claim your deposit bonus. And for a limited time, you also get a free chip to use in the MyBookie casino. You can bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie. Now let's get back to the show. All right, go check out MyBookie, guys. They got a ton of props. Like I mentioned earlier, Brock Purdy rushing touchdown. That prop is like a consistent plus 500. Last week it would have hit, so go take advantage now. All right, final score predictions. I'm going to go first. I actually don't think this is going to be a close game. And I think the 49ers are going to take care of business pretty handedly and prove they are the better of the two teams. I was going to say the best team in the NFC, but I don't think they've proven that against the Eagles until later in the year. They won't have the chance. So the better of these two teams, and I have 33-21 in my mind. I think the 49ers beat the Cowboys. I had 33-18, but I think they get a couple touchdowns. So 33-21. Mike, who do you got?
I'm going to pick the Niners. And I don't think we quite get to 30 this week. I'm going to say 27-17. It's a 10-point win, still comfortable. But you know, I think there's going to be a lot of I think there's going to be a lot of time consuming drives by the Niners. I don't think that we're going to be trying to put up as many points as much as just keep the ball out of their hands and minimize their opportunity. So I think it's going to be a lot of ground and pound, a lot of running the ball and keeping the ball away from the Cowboys. So 27-17, 10-point win for the 49ers.
Okay. Matt, before I toss it to you, I see some Cowboys fans in the chat. Thanks for tuning in. Come back tomorrow night, regardless of how the outcome goes. We're all just hoping for a good game and no injuries. Tony Pollard got injured in that last game. That was horrible. Hopefully nothing happens like that tomorrow night. Please come back and share your thoughts, regardless of what happens. Matt, who do you got? What's the final score?
Yeah, tough game. I think that we're going to continue the trend of 49ers Cowboys being one-score games, but I have the 49ers pulling it out at home 28-27.
Damn, that's going to be a nail-biter.
Brock Purdy leads fourth quarter comeback touchdown drive to win the game.
Okay, damn.
Was trailing in the fourth quarter.
Damn, all right. Woo. All right, I got a chat pack. Yeah, by the way, comment your final score predictions in the chat. Even if this video is over, you can comment them in the comments on YouTube. If you get it right, we'll send you some merch. You can tweet them at us. Our handles are on the screen. The only requirement is you can't do it after the game has started. You got to do it before the game has started. Tweet your final score predictions at us, and you'll get some free merch. All right, chat pack time. Chat, you can contribute to this as well. You can answer the questions in the chat. If, with your safety guaranteed, you could experience something considered very dangerous, what would you want to experience most of all?
I mean, space travel.
Ah, shit. Okay. That's a
Yeah,
really good one.
I'd want to go to space.
Mike, you look very bewildered.
I wanna survive a plane crash. I know, I know that sounds stupid as hell, right? But like I think there's something I don't know what, but like just thinking that you're about to die and then not dying. I would I more want to experience it for the after effects. Like how does that change my outlook on life going forward? Because everyone says, "Oh, you know, you live for the day, you live for the day because tomorrow's not promised." But no one really does that. No one really does that. And so I think you have to have some kind of incredible brush with death. I follow this morbid, I forget what it's called, it's morbid something on Twitter, and there's this lady, she was the lone survivor. She was a crew member of this plane crash in like Sweden or something like that. And she was all the way at the back of the plane, and she was the only one that survived it. And it was just something that just doesn't happen. And you know, I was trying to find more on her story and what she did afterwards, but it's just something that I feel like that would be pretty cool. Like just if I could guarantee the safety, not just myself though, like of other people on the plane too, right? But like engine blows and we have to do like a crash landing or something like that, like just how you would appreciate literally every day, every moment that you have going forward. I think that's something that humans, not just like, you know, myself, but I think people need to really have a true value of life, and that's how I would go about getting it.
Damn. All right. I saw this post the other day on X talking about how most men feel like they could land a plane if they were on a plane and like both pilots like died or something. And Ashley asked her, like, do you think you can land a plane? Probably not. But if nobody else is gonna step up, I'm gonna go into that cockpit and figure out what does what. Because what am I gonna do? You're gonna die either way. Might as well go
Right.
out dying trying. So I
Yeah,
feel like
grab the
most men agree.
headphones. They try to talk you through it. If the comms are up, I mean, you know, they'll tell you what buttons. Look on your left side. There's a green button here. You're gonna do this. You're gonna do that. Like they'll try to talk you through it, and just hopefully you're quick enough to find what they're saying, and you know you can maintain composure long enough.
All right. My answer, space was a fantastic answer because that's insanely interesting. I'll go with the opposite, which is deep sea ocean, like as deep as you could go in the ocean without your submarine collapsing in on itself, like that one just did on those people earlier this summer. There's so much of the deep sea that's just unexplored by humans. I think it would be amazing to see. So, yeah. Mark Cisneros, visit the Bermuda Triangle or climb Mount Everest. Yeah, those are some good ones as well. All right. I think that's going to do it for tonight's show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I know it was a short notice. We appreciate all you guys joining. We will be live. Are we going to go live after the show, after the game, excuse me, or are we doing Monday? What's we haven't decided yet.
Well, Nothing But Niners will be live immediately after the show. So, I mean, after the game. So, if you guys are looking for an overreaction show, you guys can definitely catch it on Nothing But Niners.
I gotta wake up for work early Monday morning, so I might want to.
Okay,
hold on.
We'll do a Red Gold Standard podcast later in the week. Details to follow. Follow us on X. The handles are on the screen. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Mike, anything you want to shout out before we go?
No, man. Patreon.com, guys. That is the place to be. Patreon.com/NB9ERS. A lot of bonus content. Been cranking them out over there very consistently. So I'm hoping for more of that to continue. You guys head on over there. If you guys are looking for somewhere to watch the Niner games, you're out of market. It's hard for you to get them. You have to worry about that this week because it's a primetime game. However, for the most part, you don't get that. Any tier, you get the games and get to experience it live with a bunch of other cool people. So head on over there. Be a part of the Patreon community.
Go check it out, guys. All right, Matt, you want to carry us out?
Absolutely. I think this has been the most anticipated matchup of the season so far for 49ers fans. And really, this might be the marquee matchup of the NFL so far. It's going to be a good one for Sunday Night Football. Just want a 49ers victory in good health. So hopefully they can get it done. Their third home game in a row. It's going to be interesting to see. I do think a little bit of a missed opportunity not to wear the 1994 throwbacks for this game as opposed to last week, but that's a small quibble. So all things being equal, thank everybody for joining us. We love having you here. Let's go get a victory tomorrow. For Mike, for Zach, for myself, we're just ready to get this dub. So until next time, go Niners.